Yo, welcome back. It's another video from from your resident threshold guardian. Walker between the worlds, all of that jazz. Me. So now I'm coming in. I'm literally just like riffing this one because I was just sitting down. It's a part of the Mermaid file. So welcome back, gang. This is going to be like one of the aquatic being type videos, but this is just going to be like my thoughts on a specific topic. So I'm not really giving you any history in that way, but go with me. So I want to talk about, I'm going back to the Caribbean stories. I'm dissecting this little part from Caribbean stories because I'm very fascinated with it. So if you don't know, now you know. Caribbean mermaid encounters are incredibly different from any other encounters that you will find when it comes to the way that they experience air quotes mermaids. Aquatic beings is what I prefer to say, because I don't believe mermaids are like what we see in Disney, but at the same time I don't believe that they are all vilified marine kingdom demons from hell, or the water realm. Like, I don't believe that either. I think that they're nuances, all right? But I'm particularly so fascinated with the aspect of these Caribbean stories. The first time I heard it, I thought, what the fuck is this about? Like, what am I hearing? They did what? And it was the fact that they would be talking about people being kidnapped and they'll be taken. Mind you, these are people that return, which is why we know the story, as they say. And they'll come back and they'll be like, yeah, we were let go. I was let go. And it was because they were, the mermaids thought that they were bad workers, because they'll be like, what did you do down there? They'll be like, we're doing chores. You'd be cleaning, you might be cooking, you might be like being their servants, and that's what you did. And I'm like, let's just stop. What do you mean? What do you mean, servants? What do you mean? Like, how is that happening? Because to my mind, I was just thinking of mermaids are swimming under the water. Okay, so but in general, I'm like, what do you mean they're doing all of what? Why would they like swim all the way up into the shores? They'll kidnap you to take you down. Don't they have like, I don't know, mermaid Craigslist? Are there no like ocean? Is there no ocean online? I'm looking for a cleaner for my my shell bedroom. Like, why are they coming? Why are they taking humans to do that? Why do they need a cleaner? Like, why can't they use one of their own? But more so, why is there cleaning happening anyway? That's a very human thing. I mean, everybody likes their house to look house smart and whatnot, but like, come on, man. Don't they have their own ocean Febreze? Like, I was just confused. Anyway, I'm making jokes, but like, in all seriousness, I was just like very confused. Now, I know that a lot of people, like the Ivana, who narrates a lot of this story, she's like, the word on the street when they're saying these things, some people can be kidnapped because maybe they are connected to the water via spiritual contracts, so to speak, family lineage, people who might have served specific water deities. So there's the air quotes, the contract links, there's there's that going on. So I'm not disrespecting. Some people are just taken, like they said. I mentioned this in another video because maybe they want children. Some people are being disrespectful. Some people are just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the people that have come back have reported this. And when I first started hearing this, I was just like, this is when my radar started to ping. Because I'm like, well, this isn't under the... Not all of them sounded like they were under the sea. I was hearing, to me, it was sounding like they were going through a sort of... they were going through an underwater doorway, is what was coming in my mind. I'm like, this isn't just like being dragged to a city under the water. Not all of them anyway. Some of them had a very distinct sound. Some of them had a very distinct feeling of that it felt like they are passing. The water is the portal they pass through to enter into another dimensional space, because it sounded very interdimensional to me, like almost like a land of sorts. And so that's why I was like, okay, okay, there's probably that going on as well. But I was always fascinated with the adage where people would say that And it passed into kind of like custom, when you live around there. It's like, if you're taken by the mermaids, do the opposite of what they tell you, because then they'll think you're a dumbass and they'll send you back. And apart from finding it funny, I was like, something doesn't ring quite true. I was like, that doesn't feel right though. In my mind, I'm thinking to myself, you're making, these beings are supposed to be smart, almost kind of, let's say, superhuman. And you're telling me they won't know if somebody's fudging it and pretending. Surely they would know, especially if they're telepathic. Surely they would know that you're doing bullshit, and they won't send you back, they'll just kill you. Like, what is that? So that made me start thinking. I started to go into let's go into Rosie Codex mode. I was like, this has to be symbolic. Like, I'm not saying it's not literal, but at the same time I'm saying, maybe this is not as literal as you think. Maybe it's not as literal as we think, because that doesn't make sense to me. And I start thinking about fairy tales. You think about things like Rumpelstiltskin. I think, is it where there's a name, then you're not supposed to tell, is it fairies, your name? And then even in like The Little Mermaid, there seem to be laws. Like, even Ariel had to sign it's a contract. Okay. Third day, sunset. That's when it ends. I should try to fuck it up anyway. But it made me think, right, so, okay, this is definitely framing in my mind that there are laws, there's rules that must be abided by. Very much in the same way that we see when people talking about false flag events, etc. Stuff is put in plain sight for you. So whether you consent or not, they've done that's been done enough. It's your problem if you've not noticed what's happening here. We have the right to continue on, because we've kind of essentially said what is going to happen. It's up to you whether you pick up the nuance of it or not, right? So we get all of that. So I'm like, okay, so it seems like there's rules, there's boundaries these beings, universal rules, universal laws that have to be abided by. All right. So maybe that's why people might get sent back as well. Maybe you can't just do all of these things. So there's the significance of rules that everybody's bound by, which makes sense. We're all bound by, I guess, some cosmic laws in ways. Also, we do tend to flatten stories that we don't understand. When something can't be understood, it becomes, we try to fit a story of what might be happening, and that does it flattens the story. It becomes a bit two-dimensional, and it loses maybe its original significance, and that gets passed down, which, I mean, it's no fault of our own, but that does happen. But I just still felt like, why? Like, what else is going up? And then what else could be happening here? What if, right, that these guys are coming back? I thought, what if it's a screen memory? You hear about UFO encounters where they see owls and they weren't owls at all. Or, a screen memory is implanted, because, I mean, it is a bit traumatic. And also it helps hide what is really happening. So what if some of these were screen memories? Because to me, I just can't buy it. That doing the opposite and doing chores and doing the opposite is gonna make them so annoyed they just send you back, like, without a receipt. Like, it just feels too basic. Not to mention, I was like, the act of doing the opposite, esoterically or symbolically speaking, is usually a good sign. I know, because usually it's not the literalness, like when there's a riddle or something, it's not the literalness of whether you get it right or wrong. It's that the opposites are a marker of liminality, a marker of, can you read between the lines? Can you read between the codex here? Can you understand the resonance here? So we see in popular culture all the time, you might notice that they're always talking about upside down. Things get flipped around. Was it Stranger Things? You've got the upside down or whatever. Even Brian Froud, who writes about fairies and stuff like that, they're the topsy-turvy beings. I just saw this movie cover online the other day, and it was a lighthouse that was like upside down. and then the rest of the land was there. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit interesting. I'm always noticing this imagery, and then I'm like, oh, the lighthouse being upside down, it's really symbolized to me what I'm going to say about it overall. It's because rather than the lighthouse being upright, guiding people, like guiding ships to the shore, it's actually now turning the light on the depths, which is essentially what happens when the shadows start coming up. So it's turning the light on the things that are hidden. It's putting a light on in the unseen realm. So usually, like the flippity flop, it's usually a kind of a marker of you're somebody who, rather than looking at the outward signs, the very bog standard, maybe not being able to read the signs because you just go along with consensus reality, basically. The flip is symbolic for flipping inwards, inner gnosis, right? So do you think outside the box? So it's a marker, it's a test to see where your resonance is at. So that's why I was like, so when they're saying the opposite, that's surely a good thing, which made me think, but then they get sent back. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they passed. But basically, in all seriousness, it just made me think that there must be other stuff going on there. And that's what made me think about, what if it was a screen memory, right? Say, for instance, the stories where they're taken as a servant or slaves, that screen memory could be the servant or being taken as a servant. That could be memory now. And it's a metaphor for you're being energetically used as a resource. A slave is a slave. They do anything, right? That could be symbolic for being used as a resource. Whether it's food, energy, emotional processing, downloads, whatever it is, that could be that. Chores, I still find it funny thinking that there's like a Dyson 3000 down there. But chores could be codes for integration work or being in service. So what is it that you are doing? Are you giving somebody some of your essence? I don't know, anything reproductive, I don't know, but you are being of service. You are acting a chore. That could be what that is. And the screen memory is good as a mundane chore because you won't really think much about it. It's the closest thing. So maybe the ones who are turned away or brought back swiftly, maybe again the resonance is off. Resonance is usually is everything in this reality. In the same way, like, the Rumpelstiltskin thing where it's like, oh, I bet you can't guess my name. Because a name is like, it's more than just your name, right? It's resonance. It's a very particular, like, it's ringing a specific note. And maybe that's what's being looked for. So, the ones that come back with the gifts, because some of them come back with the gifts, mainly healing gifts and all this kind of situation, all this kind of stuff. Maybe they are the ones with the resonant match, right? The ones that can now bring something through. Okay, actually, I forgot to put this bit in when I was talking about like what the stereotypical screen memory animal is. So a quick recap. So obviously screen memories are memories that are implanted or said to be implanted, and they act as kind of placeholders covering up the actual event that happened, okay, the true event. But I'm just thinking, I was like, even the images that we're presented with in that screen memory, for instance, actually could have deeper symbolic meaning than we think. So almost in the same way where it's like, okay, what you kind of have to play out the cosmic law of what is, be told in a way, or you kind of have to be told in a way what's happening in reality. Whether you understand it, decode it or not is up to you, right? But it's actually been done, or it's actually been said. So I'm actually thinking about it, because I'm like, hang on a minute, that nothing is random in this reality. And if we take a look at the owl, like symbolically, what is it connected to? It's connected to the moon, the high priestess, okay, what is beyond the veil. So literally it's like the unconscious mind. And in the actual tarot card, for instance, it is the high priestess sits foot on the moon, symbolic for the feminine and the hidden. And then we see the curtain behind her where it's like, hey, it's a no-go. All right, it's a no-go. Only people that have the keys and the guardians of the mystery gate sort of thing, okay? So it's deeply connected to what is hidden, what is behind the veil, the mysteries, okay, of the unconscious mind. And so even the presence of these symbols, now I'm thinking about it, even the fact the owl itself is a clue as to perhaps what is happening there. So maybe it's operating on this form of like air quotes cosmic consent, all right? Not saying that's a solid fact, but and on some level we are shown and told what's about to happen or what has actually happened, even if it's just symbolically, because if you decode it, then if you can't, oh well, is the way it feels and goes. So for instance, when the owl shows up as a screen memory, it's literally not random. It is actually a marker for something deeper that is actually being veiled. So it's an invitation or a warning, depending on the type of the experience, to look beyond appearances or look beyond what you're actually seeing and really go like, oh, what is happening there? Like, you're really thinking about it. So at the end of the day, even the symbol connected to the event is like a breadcrumb. It's like a breadcrumb trail, from the unconscious. So if you have the eyes to see, air quotes, you catch my drift, okay? Truth is always in plain sight, especially if you know how to decode the message, which is another reason why I'm doing videos like this. So this is now like explaining. Now you would this is the end of the video, right, basically, but it explains why I'm saying that chores, or air quotes slaves, could actually be symbolic for another resonance, for something else that is going on underneath. Kind of makes a little bit more sense in a way. Once again, it needn't be nefarious. But these are just my thoughts. So about that, that's what I'm thinking. So the TLDR version of that would be chores could be meaning that they were a resource. There was an exchange. There's a bit of integration, and that was a screen memory to kind of like make it you not so traumatized. That's just what I wanted to say, because I was thinking, what on earth, man? This really gets you. I always wonder because I find it so funny. But let me know what you think. What do you think? Drop it down below. See you in my next video. Bye.